You are listening to the Curtis King Podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Curtis King Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis King. If you are listening through any of our major distributors, make sure that you please subscribe and stay up to date with these. We do podcasts specifically for the mindset and the mental health of music producers, since that is the most important thing before we even touch our DAW. That being said, today what I want to do is go over the subject of mastery, and I want to tell you what inspired that. But first and foremost, for those of you that are on my YouTube watching, please hit a like. You know, we got to do that thing that we do on YouTube. Hit that button that go like this. And then do me a favor so that this video can get discovered by the people that need to get it the most aside from you. I want to read a little bit of a section out of another one of my favorite books from Ryan Holiday. The Obstacle is the Way. I promise you, I am not sponsored in any shape or form by Ryan Holiday, but if that is even a thing for authors, I would love to, because he's definitely one of my favorite authors. But that being said, let me go ahead and read from this section where he talks about pretty much just the art of mastery. He says, part of the reason why a certain skill often seems so effortless for great masters is not just because they've mastered the process, they really are doing less than the rest of us who don't know any better. They choose to exert only calculated force where it will be effective, rather than straining and struggling with pointless attrition tactics. Let me turn off this fountain in the back because y'all got to hear me. Okay, y'all got to hear me. Y'all got to hear me today. What inspired me to want to talk about this? Well, I was watching a battle rap event. Maybe you don't know, but I'm a huge battle rap fan, specifically the homie Daylight, who, you know, he and I worked at Quiznos together many years ago in Carson, California, back when he was really making his rounds in the pit in Long Beach, and he was really making his name locally. And to see his vision come to life, because he told me many years what he wanted to do with battle rap, and to see it not only come to light, no pun intended, but to see his mastery of his skill set has been something that I can barely put into words. I was watching a URL event. Okay, they host many legendary rap battles, and this one was called Gnome. It was Gnome 10, and as I'm watching, you know, I'm looking for the homie Daylight. There's obviously so much talent over there at URL, whether it's, you know, the Loaded Lux or Surf, like whoever it is that you're into, everybody got their favorites, but my favorite is the homie Daylight, and you can call it bias or whatever you want to call it, I don't care. But I'm watching him because he's known for probably the most of you guys for the things that you heard controversial wise that he's done, whether it's the Vlad interviews, whether it's seeing him in his element, you know, doing sort of the trolling stuff, whatever the case may be, he did it and he got on folks' radar, right? So as I'm watching him now, this is a part of Daylight that I feel like I have always seen and knew existed, but I also knew why the trolling was a necessity for really getting his name out there and making a conversation around him that you know, maybe wasn't there before just based upon skill set alone. It is now. And as I watched him, he battled another battle rapper named Tay Rock. As I watched him and replayed parts of that battle, you know, I'm just thinking back. I'm like, oh my, I'm just rethinking some of the things that he said and seeing the wordplay. He's at a level of mastery that I think most people from looking on the outside will look at that and say, oh, that's somebody who, you know, is you know, thinking more complex than things, and they're probably using so much more of their ability. They've practiced this, they practiced this. But you know what I've noticed? And this is just from my own journey, and I've talked to him not specifically about this, but I know we have talked about strategy when it comes to being at our best and doing things. Like I said, the last episode, he suggested that I read Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. I know now Critics make their own analysis of what somebody who is in the middle of mastery is doing. They have their own mindset. They have their own sort of brain centered around what exactly it took for them to be as great as they are at what they're doing. And you know what I figured out? They make it so much more complex than what it is. Don't get me wrong. There's going to always be hard work involved. There's going to always be a skill set that must be developed upon. There's going to always be work that you just cannot avoid. But at the end of the day, what they're actually focusing on, just as Ryan Holiday so brilliantly put it, what they're actually focusing on is a lot more simplistic in its approach. It is simple, but it's not easy. Okay, I'm not saying anybody can do it. I'm saying that Daylight has chosen to focus in on a skill set, a particular skill set that he hyper focused on, and it has made him a fucking brilliant writer because he focused just on his penmanship. And as I watched him, and I'm just on my phone watching in amazement, I'm just in pure amazement. I'm like, what? How do you even think in those terms? And then I try to relate it to myself, and I realize that when I'm at my best, because that's the only way I can really understand that level of mastery, which I feel like I don't have that as a producer. I want to have that as a producer. I'm inspired to have that as a producer. But to understand even the level of mastery that I'm at right now, what I do understand is this. It is a lot more. I'm at a place now in my life where my approach to things has been the most simplistic it has ever been. And that mindset alone has produced better results. When I was a producer that was trying to sell beats to the general market, when I was a producer that was worried about, as I'm making a beat, what is this beat for? Is it for streaming? Is it for an artist? Is it for a type beat? Is it for SoundClick? Is it for SoundCloud? Is it for whatever? Is it for syncing licensing? When I had all those things going through my mind, it made my delivery, it made my work more complex. It's a very natural thing. I think all of us kind of go through that, especially in this new age of production. But I am at my best. Hear me when I say this. I am at my best when things are not complex. I am at my best when things are not complex. I am at my best when I'm able to sit down and literally by pure habit, by pure muscle memory, by trusting the process, by trusting the fact that I've been around this long enough, that if I use some patience and I focus in only on the things that I am great at, not trying to be the greatest gumbo pot combination of all the things that I've learned in that moment. In that moment, I can only be in that moment. In that moment, I can only be me. And if I tell myself, which is something you've heard me say before, as I approach a beat, I am nothing, I am nobody. And then as of late, I've been adding on top of that, that makes me capable of doing anything. Hear me out. I am nobody, I am nothing. I am nothing, I am nobody, and that makes me capable of anything. I was watching Daylight and I'm watching him in the middle of this, and I'm like, oh, he's Super Saiyan. Like he's really going into that other place. He's going into a place of mastery that not a lot of people get to, that not a lot of people experience. All they can do is watch it in pure amazement. It's the same thing that I get, and I think many people get when they watch Olympic athletes. That is it's funny how it's funny how us as human beings don't really like the idea of having to do something over and over and over again every single day. Right? No matter how simplistic it is. We don't like the idea of having to do that repetition, right? We make excuses for why we can't read more often. Oh my God, I don't have enough time. Oh my God, it's just so boring. Oh my God. We make all these excuses, but we're the biggest fans of the people or the human beings who actually do repetitious type things. They live by repetition, right? They live by establishing great habits. They live by having a discipline, or they live by being disciplined, I should say. We love watching it. In the Olympics, we see nothing but that. Those are years and years and years of experience that has gone into that particular person in their sport becoming a master at that. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm not only in amazement. And mind you, I was watching, somebody, I ain't gonna tell it myself, but somebody shared a link with me, and I was able to catch it. And I didn't catch it live, but I was able to catch it and then be able to replay it and stuff. Shout out to that Google Drive. I'm gonna leave that alone. But yeah, so I was able to see that. And mind you, I've been to many battle rap events, and I've been there in person. I've seen my brother. I was there when the disaster punched old boy in the middle of the battle. I was in that room. I was looking around like, this is the battle that I finally come to. I must be the bad luck charm in here. But I'm just telling you, man, seeing how much work has gone into him, not just becoming a more complex lyricist, but seeing him become simplistic in a way that critics wouldn't be able to understand. You'd have to live through it. You'd have to witness it. You'd have to see it. And that is a level of mastery, like I said, that I want to achieve as a producer. And I know that it only comes with time. I know that it comes with me spending time. I know that it comes with me giving at least 1% a day. Today, it could be easily, after this podcast, sitting with a beat and just working on some chords. If I want to improve my chords, just working on my chord game for the next hour could put me in such a greater place than what I'm in right now. Not even an hour, forget that, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, let's 1% that, right? Let's 1% this whole thing, 10 minutes a day, working on melodies. I will be in such a better place 50 days from now, 30 days from now, 60 days from now. That's why when I had that interview with Sarah Too Ill, what I loved about what she was talking about is that she literally put herself in a position to where it was like, ride the boat up to the island, burn the boat up, and take over the island. We have no choice. We have no exit. We have nothing that is going to allow us to do anything else. We need to burn down this boat and we need to take over this island. And I feel like it's the same thing. It should be the same thing with your craft and the mastery of your craft. So that being said, my friends, that is my new dedication. It has always been my dedication, but I think I'm more aware of it now. And that when I sit down, if I could not have appreciated the practice, the experience, the sacred experience of practice that making a beat is, anytime we sit down, I appreciate it more than I ever have. And that just increased watching my boy achieve mastery. And shout out to Tay Rock, because he was a worthy competitor. But as I'm watching Daylight is in a whole nother space. I'm gonna try to get him on here to possibly talk about that. But right now, he's a hot commodity, doing really well for himself, and I'm very proud of the homie. So I had to just basically talk about that. So let me talk about what I did this weekend. Okay, we talk about mastery. Obviously, I spent a lot of time around my music. What did I do this weekend? So this weekend, aside from watching that battle, I spent time with my son, I spent time with my wife, and on Saturday, I had an opportunity to work all day on one thing. It's very rarely that I can do that. So, I guess aside from the interview with Sarah, I worked on one thing the entire day. I worked on something that I was hoping, something I know will solve an issue that many of you have hit me up about. You've talked about, yo, Curtis, man, you do the tutorials about drops and transitions, but I don't know where to find high quality transitions, are like those toms that you use for all of your beats. Where can I find them? And of course, I tell them, hey, you can get them on Splice. It's super easy, like whatever it is. Still, it never fails. I'll tell you, and people are still like, yeah. Could you just make something? And so I spent the entire day from about, I was focused. I was super focused. I spent from about, I want to say close to like 2 or 3 p.m. till about 4 a.m. I'm still recovering from it, but I was zoned in. I was in there literally sitting in there and listening to my favorite tom rolls and trying to figure out what is it that I love about these tom rolls? What is it that makes them so effective? What is it that makes me gravitate to these except for other tom rolls, or drum breaks, I should say. Drum breaks, tom rolls, snare rolls. What makes me gravitate to these? And as I thought about that, it inspired new ideas, right? Inspired me to want to put together 50. You hear me right? You hear me? You hear me out there? 50 drum breaks, snare rolls, tom rolls. And the name of that pack is called Tom Foolery, Volume 1, 50. And being that I want to be able to keep in touch with you guys even more often, it is important that as I give you this, yes, I'm going to give you this for free, that I get your email. That's all I'm asking. I just want your email. So I'm going to get that out to you really, really soon. I got to make an official video for it, but you heard it here first. I'm having a solo tom roll. You want to your heart's desire of transitions and drops. You are going to love this pack, and it's absolutely free. 50 tom rolls. That's a lot of work to give away for something for free, but I think that it's going to do a lot of good. And for you to see that, it's got to help you see, if you didn't see before, the value in the work that I'm putting in sound design wise, and the value that my team is putting in, and how much we're dedicated to the process. I don't know if I found something that I love as much as this, aside from making beats, in terms of a craft. I love this. I really love this. And it's only preparing me for my solo pack, which it was looking like at the end of this month I was going to do it, but I don't want to rush it for the sake of time. I want to make sure that I get it right. But that will be available this week. So yeah, prepare yourselves. But right now we're going to go to a commercial break. After this commercial break, we'll be right back and we'll end it out. So shout out to our sponsor, DistroKid. Music producer. Something I talk about pretty frequently is the necessity of having multiple streams of revenue as an independent music producer. Not only for when you're actually producing, but what about those days after you stop producing? You got to make sure that you have streams of revenue that are going to live on even further than your current career. That being said, one stream of revenue that I think gets often overlooked is music distribution, aka streaming. Getting your music on Apple Music, getting your music on Spotify, etc., etc. Now, the number one spot that I go to make sure that I distribute my music properly and ensure that I get my music to every store possible is DistroKid at distrokid.com. I know you've heard me speak about it multiple times on my YouTube channel, but I gotta tell you, there's a reason why it's the number one that I go to. For $19.99 per year, I can upload an unlimited amount of music throughout the year. As producers, you know we make an abnormal amount of music in comparison to songs that get created, so it's important that you use this as a consistent stream of income. If you'd like to sign up to DistroKid today and get your music to every major distributor, go to distrokid.com/VIP/Curtis King to get 7% off. Okay, music producers, shout out to DistroKid. So, went over the idea of mastery, went over the pack that I worked on, the free pack for you. Stay tuned for that. Now, last, I want to end it out on the producers out there that I know most of you are not like this. But I know that there are folks that watch this, because I can tell by the impatience within your questioning and the DMs that I receive that I often ignore, because I feel like I'm not going to do you service by answering your hot popcorn questions. I experienced this section of the music producer community that is all about getting the sauce. They're all about getting tricks. They're all about getting the shortcuts. They're all about getting the things that are going to help them avoid the hard work that is inevitable. And for the sake of not trying to sound like an old head, I really don't want to sound like an old head, but you cannot get away from the hard work. What is it that I mean? I'm in my live stream on Instagram, and I haven't been on there often, but I got on my live stream, and it was inevitable for somebody to come in there. But I do a Q&A. Generally, when I do a Q&A, I get some really, really great questions about mindset, some questions about stuff that is really my favorite stuff to talk about, right? But then I'll get the person that just bombards me with a million questions about, is ClickFunnels real? Is it still popping? Uh, what store is better, the B Stars or Airbit? And it's not that there's anything wrong with having questions about that or but they're questions to me that have to do with you being inactive and or waiting on somebody else's validation before you make a decision. And if you're waiting on somebody's validation, get yourself ready for a long career of disappointment. Because if you do not take chances on yourself, and even if you are successful, hear me out, even if you are successful, you are going to blame yourself first, and then you're going to be angry at the person that gave you the advice because you're like, how come I didn't think of that? You will grow animosity toward the person that was trying to help you simply because they helped you in a way that didn't truly help you. The way that you are truly helped is when you go after these things. So I got that particular producer that I could tell was a few years in, because I feel like you're only that impatient about things when you feel like it's getting too late in your career or when you're super early in your career and you're trying to rush success. What are you rushing success for? Why do you want to be like your favorite producer so fast? Why does speed matter so much? Wouldn't you rather have it and have it be something that's sustainable? Wouldn't you rather have it and not worry about what's going to happen, what's going to happen when this source of income runs out, or when this wave is over with, or when this cloud is diluted and this cloud is gone? Wouldn't it be a lot less stressful for you to know you have something that has longevity? To know that you have made content that is evergreen, to know that you have made content that positions you as a trailblazer. And I guess that's what makes trailblazers who they are. They're not common people, right? They're very rare in their element. But I'm telling you, if nobody's ever told you, I like to plant these seeds, even if you're not ready for them. And I get a lot of people, man, they ask me very impatient questions about how they can get this stuff popping off right now. Another one is, how do I build my fan base up? And I don't think anymore. I have a different point of view of this. I don't think anymore that a fan base is for us to build. Okay, I don't think that is something that we should be saying anymore, because think about what that says. I am building a fan base. That means I am literally bringing a bunch of people together. I am farming a bunch of people together to increase the numbers of something. And I think that a fan base, at the end of it, this is just my opinion. I think a fan base is not our decision. It's the decision of those that are listening to our music. It is the decision of those that choose to come to us over somebody else. And the only thing that we have control over, which is the biggest thing, the only thing that we have control over is what we actually put out, how much work we put into what we put out, how we put it out, how we market it, how we present it. Outside of that, we cannot control other people. And if you are attempting, I shouldn't say we can, but if you are attempting to control other people through manipulation, through strategies, through tactics, if you are trying to manipulate them and your product is subpar and your product has not been proven to be something that the market actually wants, you're the worst form of manipulation to me. That's the kind I look at and I say, you don't have any longevity. And at some point, something that you do in this business or to someone is going to expose that flaw in your character. So what I say is this: have patience, especially if you're younger. How do I define younger? If you younger than 20, if you younger than 40, let's just go there. Younger than 40. You know what I'm saying? If you get in your 30s, it starts to feel like I'm in a young man's game and it's a little bit different. But then it's like, it's the internet. You get to redefine what that is. Then I think about in my 20s, you got all them years to really take chances and really go out there and get it, especially if you're not, if you don't have a kid or if you don't have any responsibilities, you can just go out there and do it. And you're 15 to 20, you're just trying stuff out and you're failing. You got to fail faster than everybody else. You got to fail as fast as you can. Why? Because that is going to ensure that you are going to know what works and what doesn't work. It's going to ensure that you will get to your destination faster. If you're worried about speed, if you're truly worried about speed, the quickest way to your goals is two ways. One, to help others along their road, because you never know what somebody is going to become. You never know if they're going to even move faster than you and be able to give you a helping hand in some shape or form, or line you up with a great opportunity. That's one. And two, The other way that you do it is to simply fail. Fail, 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 fail. And the quicker you fail, the more experience you have. The more experience you have, the better advice you will give. And also the better you'll develop that muscle in your brain that understands the concept of learning. If you don't understand the concept of learning and you're not gaining something from every failure, because the thing about it, it's not just fail and don't learn anything. You got to learn something. I thought that this should be an obvious one. You must learn something. But if you fail, you're learning so much more than I can give you in advice. And I've noticed the people who win tremendously are the ones that go from failure to failure. This is a quote from, I believe, who was it from? I heard it from Les Brown, but he was sharing it from someone else. I cannot remember. The name escapes me. I know one of you probably already know it, but he said that courage, Winston Churchill, he said that courage is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. I like that. And let's make sure we point out enthusiasm is very different from excitement. And while we're on that topic, I want to end with this too, because I know a lot of you, you kind of understand that. And some of you who are in that, I need it right now, that popcorn mindset, that 1 minute mindset, that 1 minute entrepreneur, that 1 minute, I'm not going to have to grind that long to get to where I'm. For those of you that are in there, I want you to understand what's at the root of that. What's at the root of that is fear. You don't want to admit it. You probably don't want to even acknowledge it. You probably don't want to watch this video or listen to this audio, but that's at the root of it. At the root of all of that speeding is a fear, whether it's a fear that you're not going to make it, whether it's a fear of not making it by a certain age, whether it's a fear that somebody's going to take something away from you, whether it's a fear that somebody's going to get it before you. It's a fear. Let's acknowledge that first. But here's the beautiful thing about when you have a fear. And I'm going to say this was from a book that I've been reading by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule. I've been taking my time with that book. She said that scientists have been able to prove that we experience the same physical reaction when we're fearful as when we're excited. If you can simply just think about it. When you are nervous, right? Say it's before a big performance, say it's before a beat battle, whatever it is that you're getting into as a producer, you're live streaming. What do you feel? Clammy hands? What else? You start to feel a little bit of shaky, right? You can't control the movement of your hands. Maybe you get like, I don't know if you ever get this, like whenever I go live to talk to people, I get this weird sharp pain up my back that's just like kind of a burning, but it's weird. It's like, oh, I know this is nerves. My neck starts to tense up and I have to like loosen myself up. These are the elements, are the side effects of fear. Right? An increase in energy, right? You're trying to figure out, oh my God, what am I going to say? Don't say this, don't do that. It's an increase in focus, a hyper focus on very minor things. When you think about it, isn't excitement the same thing? When you're really, really excited about something, you're really, really excited about going on a date or meeting somebody that you've only met online. You're really, really excited about a new plugin, like really excited about a new plugin or a new keyboard that you got. You're so excited. You're ripping open the box and you're like low key sweating. You didn't ran that keyboard up and down the stairs to get to your studio. You're so excited. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? You didn't like even like shook the hand of the Amazon man, even though COVID-19 is around here and he looking at you crazy. Like, you sure you want to do that? And you doing all this because you excited. That sound like me when I got my computer finally, right? That is excitement. I was sweating. It was musty in here when I was opening up that box, but I didn't care. Those side effects of excitement are the same ones as as fear. So here's this. In that book, she suggests, now having that knowledge that is backed by science, if you literally just switch the narrative in your mind and you say, okay, I'm not fearful in this situation right now. I'm excited. I'm so excited that I have what feels like the elements of fear, but it's literally an intense excitement that is making me sweat from my armpits. It's an intense excitement. So she says, focus in on what it is that you're actually excited about. And when you're able to focus in on that, you're able to reframe the narrative. And when you're able to reframe the narrative, you control the output. You control the outcome. but you got to reframe it. It's not trying to trick your brain. It's just trying to give your brain an alternative to obsess with. Because here's the thing about it. When your body starts freaking out, your brain is like, homie, what's going on? What's it's looking for a reason. It's looking for a way to explain what the hell is this that's going on. And if you don't give it an explanation, that's when you go into fight or flight. That's when you go into panic. Okay, we must be having a heart attack. That's the thing that you came up with, brain. So it's important for you to be able to sit there and as it's happening, you say, you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited. I am excited about what? This happens to people when they get on the planes. Actually, that was an example that they use in a book. It happens to people before they get on planes. Well, why are you excited? Like for me, I think I felt a bit of that when I was going to Atlanta last year. And I was like, yo, this could be a really defining moment for me, at least within our community, because so many of you have only seen me, in this realm in YouTube and whatnot. And so to be on two of the biggest podcasts with some of the biggest entities, on Producer Grind and with Cymatics, it was a big deal. It's a big deal. It still is. And I felt the nerves on the plane. And what I realized was that, I didn't acknowledge it at that moment because I just read that there was a study on that. But I was really genuinely excited about getting out there. That's what it was. Hey, nothing. I didn't care about no plane crashing. That wasn't even in my mind. What's in my mind was, don't get on them podcasts and knock a damn fool, Curtis. Because I could do that from time to time. That was the only thing that was on my mind. But fear and excitement carry the same attributes. And I think we're going to end it right on that note, my friends. So thank you once again for listening to the Curtis King podcast. I love this. It's therapeutic for me to be able to get these thoughts out, these thoughts that are usually just running through my mind. But those of you that are listening to any of the major distributors, I want to say thank you for listening to us. Make sure you leave a 5-star rating. Suggest this podcast to a friend of yours that is a producer or even just somebody that's a creative. I think we have something for everyone. On YouTube, make sure that you hit that like button. If you've not subscribe, make sure you subscribe. I just want to say thank you to the producer community for continuing to support my efforts, support this idea that we can be entrepreneurs. We can also take care of not only our financial health, but our mental health. That means so much to me. That being said, in this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Be on the lookout for Tom Foolery Volume 1. My friends, have a good one. Look up, Nazi. Say cheese.